Hi there and welcome to my channel. I'm Jennifer and today I am going to be in the kitchen making Swiss steak with venison the way Grandma made it. I'm going to make mashed potato casserole, also some cornflake clusters, and then I am going to show you how I put French fries. Like I take just 10 pounds of potatoes and turn those into French fries for the freezer, as well as hash brown cubes. Let's get to it.
So first off, we're going to start by laying out our already thawed venison. This is venison thick steak. I cut it into a little bit smaller pieces. I put a whole lot of pepper on it, a whole lot of salt, a little bit of ground mustard, and then sprinkled it pretty liberally with flour, and then just started pounding it out using a mason jar. I use a wide mouth jar, and I just feel like it just gives me something good to hang on to, and it seems to do the job really, really well. So I usually work on it from one direction, and then I also flip the meat around, kind of running it, dredging it a little bit more in the flour, and then just keep pounding it until it's pretty flat and very uniform. In the meantime, I set out my great big cast iron pan and get that heating over medium high heat with some bacon grease in there. As soon as that's melted and I know that it's going to be really like sizzling, then I get the meat in there. I don't want to crowd my meat at all, so I'm going to do this in 2 batches, but I'm just going to quick fry it for about 2 to 3 minutes on each side. It doesn't necessarily have to be cooked all the way through, but just nice and brown at this point. Okay, the first batch here is ready to go into the crock pot. I just have it right here. I gotta work quick. I'm gonna try not to move the camera around too much, but I also don't want the bacon grease to start to burn. And so I want to get this I want to get these pieces in here quickly. You don't want to overcrowd your pan, otherwise they're not going to get the brown like you really want. Or I'm assuming you want. I know that's what I want on the meat, is a nice brown crust. It adds so much flavor to the meat, and yeah, if you crowd your pan, it's just not going to work. Towards the end of the frying, if you notice that like the flour bits are starting to get a little bit burnt, and you're kind of smelling that burning smell, just turn the heat down. The pan, if you're using cast iron, it holds the heat for a long time, so it will still brown even though I turn the flame down a little bit here at the end. I just don't want all that burning to happen. Also, now that we're just at the end, I put in some water, and that is going to loosen up. As long as you didn't burn the meat, all those little like stuck on bits add so much flavor to the meat. So I put a little water in there, and I will pour this right over top of the meat in the crock pot, like when I get to that point, which is going to be right about now. That is so good. I also have the remainder of the 2.5 cups I had in here. I'm going to add some of this just like kind of beef soup base here. Stir that around. Whoops. Try not to make too big of a mess. I'm going to pour that over the meat as well. And the goal is to have the meat almost fully submerged. So the top pieces are just sticking out. And so that's why this recipe is just sort of like trial and error, in the sense that you can really use as much meat as you want. you know, based on your family size. I'm going to put in a couple little bay leaves there and get those submerged under there as well. But you really just, you know, for the amount of water, I can't say how much. You just need enough to almost cover. See if I push that, it's covered. I don't want the meat swimming in liquid though either, but that's it. This is how I remember my grandma making Swiss steak. I'm gonna let this cook. This does not look like very much, but there's really only gonna be 5 of us here for supper tonight. I'm gonna get that on low, and we'll serve this up with mashed potatoes, and this is just gonna be such a great Sunday supper. I hope that you guys try this. When I make this meal, I make a huge mess. So I'm going to take some time and get things cleaned up. I mean, I have flour on my trimmed, or on my, like, whatever, on my cupboard doors there. And then I have flour all over the floor. So I'm going to get everything cleaned up, and then we will move on with some other fun things here in the kitchen. All right, we have a lot going on here. Sam, he's actually going to be going over to a friend, so I put him to work a little bit. I know it's Sunday, but I said, if you're leaving, you can help out a little first. But anyway, I also have the dishwasher going. But I did want to point out that, does this ever happen to you guys where you buy green onions and you only use like 4 of them or something, and then you're left with this, this kind of like slimy mess? Well, I have seen recently in a couple different videos where they actually trim off all of the green, put it in water, let it regrow the green, and then they have fresh green onions to use again. And I thought, instead of just throwing these to the chickens, I'm going to give that a try. So what I'm going to do is peel off anything that has some slime on it, give them a good rinse. I'm going to cut them low and then put them into water. And I've been trying to do some more vlogs here, so you guys hopefully should see it in a few days. I'll kind of check in one of the next videos and show you what's happening with it all. So we're getting close to being ready to make some French fries. I'm going to show you guys how we're going to put French fries and into the freezer so we have them ready to go. Just make it that much faster and easier on weeknights.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Did you call me sir, just like Joe does?
Okay, yes, sir is just like a swag thing.
Oh. So we have over 10-pound potatoes here that we're going to make into French fries. So our setup here is we're using this potato slicer. Now, I do know that there are ones that are much more industrial, but this one, it's been serving us well so far. Over here, I have my blanching. Just wait, Peter. Hold up, okay? And what I want to do is just get this up to 2 pounds, because I know that the bags of French fries from the store are, 2-pound bags, and that works great for our family. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to put this into 2-pound packages. Peter is helping me with slicing the potatoes. We'll measure them out here, and then we will take this. We're going to bring it straight over here. This is hot. We're bring it straight over here to our boiling water, and we're going to blanch this size potatoes for about 4 minutes, and then we'll drain them really well and get them ready for the freezer. I also have some ice water here because as soon as you take vegetables out of the boiling water from blanching, you want to immediately cool them. That stops that whole cooking process and everything so they don't get too mushy. So I did end up with 3 2-pound bags of French fries. You can see that the blanching is what keeps them from discoloring. If I had just cut up the potatoes and thrown them in these plastic bags, it wouldn't take long, 15-20 minutes, and they would start to get that funny grayish color. But the blanching just helps to eliminate that. And then I also did 2 bags of hash browns. So I did one 2-pound bag, and then this one was a 2.5-pound bag. And these I'm going to earmark for either making Amber's creamy potato soup, or I will make like cheesy hash browns, you know, cheesy potatoes as a side dish. I know I talked last week about some side dish options, and you guys have been sending me ideas, and I really appreciate that. And someone just recently said, well, what about like cheesy potatoes? I'm like, yeah, why don't I do that more often? So anyway, that was kind of what I was earmarking these for. Okay, I'm going to mash the potatoes now that we're going to have for supper. I have been coming over here every once in a while and just kind of tipping my crock pot just to make sure that the liquid kind of sloshes over the top of the meat. But for these mashed potatoes, I'm going to put a little bit of cream cheese in here, probably a half a stick, maybe even a whole stick of butter, some milk, some seasoned salt, regular salt, pepper, and onion powder. And I'm just going to mash this all up and then put it into like a casserole container for later on tonight. Okay, so the last thing that I'm going to do in the kitchen here is just make some quick cornflake clusters. So this recipe is in my cookbook, page 66. I've seen things like this kind of around where they press them into like a pan and then cut it into bars, but this is just how our family has done it forever and ever. So I have my glass bowl here and I sprayed it so that it doesn't stick. I'm going to put in there 5 cups of cornflakes. I'm going to do 1 cup of these salted party or cocktail peanuts, and then just kind of stir that together. And then into this saucepan here, it's just 1-1-1. So a cup of, actually not that first, a cup of light corn syrup and a cup of sugar, which is still over there. No, not over there, over there. A cup of sugar. And then once I bring that to a hard rolling boil for, do I have to do it for a minute or just, no, I just bring it to a hard rolling boil. And then once everything is like the sugar is dissolved, I turn off the heat and add 1 cup of peanut butter, stir it all around, and then quickly pour it over the cornflake clusters. So I'm gonna get that going right now. All right, I just ran in here. We've just been outside. We went for a walk and Warren was working on some traps and I filled bird feeders and just outdoor stuff. It's sunny, but chilly. It's not even 40 today, but that's all right. Still enjoying the sunshine. But I did want to show you guys what I did here. So I did, sorry for the lighting, boy. I did come in and I just stirred the meat around a little bit, and I made up some real quick, just a little slurry with some cornstarch and some water in here. This is a 1/3 cup, so I probably put about a tablespoon of cornstarch and then filled it up, you know, not all the way because I didn't want it to spill over, and just stirred it real quick with my fork here, and then I just stirred that in. So that would kind of thicken that up. You know, I wanted that to be a little bit thicker for the mashed potatoes that we're going to have later tonight. So I do think it's 4:37. I'm going to get the mashed potatoes actually in. So I'm going to set my oven to 350. And I'm just going to put these in even though it's not preheated because we want to get back outside and trim some shrubs. And I should note for you guys that I did take the cover off. So it's going in uncovered for about 45 minutes. Doing a project like this today where I was like
you know, doing all those potatoes and blanching and everything, I got so many great big things dirty today. So I've been just working at cleaning up here, getting all these dishes washed. It's about 20 to 6 right now. And this is completely done, and it is so tender. I cannot wait to eat that. And then this is the mashed potato casserole. I honestly don't even know how long it was in, but I could just hear it sort of making some noise, and I saw the little browning on top, and so I took it out. And Maria has something to show us.
I made this.
Well, isn't that a pretty design? Was that something you printed off, or was that one that Grandma gave you?
Grandma gave us.
Grandma gave it to you. It's really nice. Maybe we could make it into a card and send it to her. That might be nice,
Like
huh?
this is the outside. Oh, that.
Well, maybe we could cut it out and put it on a different sheet of paper and like make a whole card out of it. Okay? And then I did put in the oven. Beware, this is a dirty oven. I did put one of these little baguettes in there. It's still frozen. It says, yeah, I was outside and it's really windy and everything today. But it said on the package for that baguette, it said that it bakes best if it's thawed, and it's completely frozen. But I put it in there anyway, and I just thought at least it could just kind of maybe bake and get completely thawed by the time we're ready for supper here, which should be in about 15 minutes or so. I have a partial bag of corn, and then this frozen bag of green beans. I'm gonna just mix those together and on the stove. Yes, I'm gonna mix those together on the stove and cook those up for our supper as well.
Yeah. You might want to get some.
Okay, we'll go over here.
You got the
oh, look at that. Yep. Turn it around so I can see the meat.
Take more meat.
Yeah, make sure you get enough meat.